Hey ladies and gentlemen, it is completely dark in my room right now, and the reason is because the sun has decided to bake me today. It is just crazy temperatures in France right now this summer, so I'm keeping this completely closed. Anyway, you didn't look at this video because you wanted to hear me talk about the sun. No, I want to talk about RASSIE Erasmus, who is day by day impressing me, and as a French and English man just making content about rugby, because I love rugby, right? I cannot not praise this guy. Right, I've got quite a lot of things to say, and I think that if you're South African watching this, you'll like this video. Rugby needed a guy like him, not just for South Africa, but just in general. Rugby can sometimes be boring if the coach is just not the right guy, and the coaches don't often go viral like Erasmus did. Right? Who can you name another coach that's interesting, that talks like he does on Twitter, for example, on X, and that sort of makes rugby exciting? Do you remember when he had and I still didn't understand this. If someone could comment, please guys, any South African guy watching this, tell me, what was that red light he was showing? And when was that? Was that at the World Cup? Or I can't remember when that was, but that was sort of typical Erasmus stuff, You could tell he was onto something with his red light, but I just can't remember what that was for, or when it was. But anyway, yeah, I've only started to follow him on Twitter recently, but he's quite the entertaining character, really. And what he's done for rugby is so good. You know what he does that I really like is that he sends out a random team sheet sort of on Monday. The game's on Saturday, by the way. And when I say random, is that the recent one against Wales has got me curious, right? There's a few players that I don't know of. And then there's some players that are experienced and stuff. It's an interesting team. It's a team that should devastate Wales. I think that quite effortlessly, to be honest. But Moyo, is that his name? Number 10. I've never heard of him. Apparently he's not even played an hour for the Sharks. Sorry, I thought I'd change angle. What RASSIE Erasmus has done for rugby is make rugby more of an entertaining sport. Okay? Not because he's made South Africa run the ball like in NRL and stuff, in rugby league. No. He's made South Africa super interesting because of all the different things that he does. He's a guy that has his vision about rugby and that unapologetically puts it out there. Do you remember when they did a few weird things, South Africa, in the recent years? What I can remember is that they, against Italy it was, right, where they did the kickoff. They made the kickoff sort of only go 2 yards so that they could scrum immediately. No other nation would do that. No other man is as crazy as RASSIE Erasmus, in the good sense, right, to do that stuff. I love it. Then they also did the pass maul thing, where they passed the ball to, it was often Norkier in the air, and then they'd maul immediately. That's just sort of typical. Or, even better, the line-outs, where a guy in the back would jump up and then throw it to the guy in the front. Oh, just crazy stuff. And there's a reason why no other team does that. It's just because you need a bit of a man that's got some ideas. When I say, I'm not saying that he's weird or anything. I'm just saying you need a guy that's got a vision and that's got some weird ideas at times that he wants to test, and he does it unapologetically against the top 10 nations in the world. I think that rugby wouldn't survive without a guy like Erasmus. You need coaches, and I wish the French coach was like that too, And he's got some interesting glasses, but apart from that, he's not very exciting to the news, to the world, etc. If rugby wants to grow, and if more people are going to watch rugby, you need coaches like Erasmus to make a name for themselves, which he's already done. I think he's quite of a hero in South Africa. I heard some of you guys also say that if he ran for president, he'd have a good chance. Is that true? So the reason I love RASSIE and I love the Springboks as a French and Englishman, right, that's completely unbiased, is because I didn't know much about the Boks before 2019. I really didn't, guys. I knew South Africa were a powerhouse of rugby, but they were never on the levels of the of the All Blacks of England. I thought that South Africa were kind of this, not tier 2, right, but kind of what Australia are right now, just sort of the team that can bother you a bit, but they're not that scary. Until England played them in the final of the 2019 World Cup, where I completely acknowledge that I was expecting England to win. I was in the stands, by the way. You might even see me. I was on TV. I passed on TV with my head, so I had an English flower, English rose. Anyway, we lost 32-12 on that day. That was a stinker. But South Africa and RASSIE Erasmus showed themselves to the world. And I have to say, although England lost, I'm glad that they lost against South Africa, because starting from that point, I started to get interested in South Africa. I always had a very naive question, guys, by the way, and you'd excuse me. I was thinking, why are there white people that play for South Africa? I was 17 at the time, so I didn't know much about the world. And then I learned about South African history, and I was impressed. I thought, what a country, what a privilege to sort of have all these different ethnicities, all these different people living in one nation that loves rugby. I mean, I'm almost happy that they won the World Cup. Then in 2023, you guys literally knocked out both of my teams, though. You knocked out France. That was quite hard to take because it was the home World Cup. And then you knocked out England. And then I went to see you guys in the final against New Zealand, and you won. That was good. I had a few nice times with a random Box supporter just bought me a beer because I cheered for the Box. And no, you guys are good. You guys are good. Would an All Black supporter have done the same thing? I'm sure he would have. But anyway, I was really impressed with the South African hospitality there. I mean, just the fact that you guys are, especially when you win, right? Especially when you win, you're nice people. And what RASSIE Erasmus has done for the Box is just literally reignite this flame, because during the 2010s, South Africa weren't at their best, right? They weren't at their best, and I'm sure that you guys still loved your rugby. You would still watch your rugby. Maybe there was more eyeballs on club rugby back then, because that was kind of the peak of Super Rugby also. But the Box weren't performing. That's quite weird, because the South African teams, clubs, were more imposing than they are today. They were doing all right, if I remember. But the Springboks weren't, and now it's kind of the opposite. I'm sorry to say. You know what? No, I take that back. The South African clubs, there's a lot of people saying that they don't deserve their place. They're always in the top 8 of the URC. They're always in the final. It's just in the Champions Cup that they don't do well. And you guys need to understand, the Springboks, that the Champions Cup is what us Europeans really like. And the Champions Cup is... we still need to make sure we can see me. The Champions Cup has got all the European teams in it, and 3 South African ones. So that's why we like to consider you, as not performing so much in the Champions Cup, because that's kind of the thing that we all watch, right? Anyway, coming back to RASSIE Erasmus, long live that guy. I really hope that South Africa don't get rid of him, because then they might just realise, hey, there's only one man like this. And I think he's contracted until 2031, right? But even after, I hope he sort of keeps going, and that they give this guy as many years as he needs to sort of literally mark history, create history. He's a fascinating man. He's a fascinating coach. I wish part of me wants him to coach another team too, just to see what it would be like. Like, imagine he just suddenly decided to go and help Georgia for 2 years, or help Spain. Georgia would become so good. He's a special man, but I think that what he's got is... half of it is also love for South Africa, right? He wouldn't be able to do it for any other nation. I think that he's just the man for the Box, and that's about it. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and give credit where credit is due. Because without that guy, I don't think the Springboks would be anywhere near to where they are right now. So congrats, Johan Erasmus. And long live the king. Bye-bye.